autumn winds move like the thunder's waves of Neptune's sacred palace. And here, amongst the blackened soil, lies the ragged hands, worn, torn, and callous. They await with cunning and vicious prowess, for the warriors have returned.
Come on, Duck! Don't do it! Woo! No way! Blue, 85! Crying out loud! You're making me, you're driving me nuts!
But behold.
Hello all you Gridiron fanatics out there. Glad you could join us for another edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style, where we gab about all things pro football, from the scoops of the regular season to the scores in the postseason and the picks in the offseason. Let's start gabbing. Welcome back, all you Gridiron fanatics out there. Glad you could join us again for another edition of Gridiron Gab Pro Style. I am, of course, Mr. CeeLo here, talking all things about the professional gridiron. Want to give you guys a preview of the Thursday night clash. It's ironic we're going to be this early in the season, and the Ravens and Bengals will have met for the final time this season. In case you guys don't know, they met in a thriller at Paul Brown in week 2, which went to the Baltimore Ravens 27-24. And this time, what's going to be the headline's going to be T. Higgins is not going to be in this game. He's already been ruled out, and that's huge because he had 8 receptions for 89 yards in the first meeting. And, you know, it always seems like when these guys go head-to-head and they don't have... One team is not at 100%. But it seems like the Ravens are going to be at 100%, and they're going to be playing without T. Higgins, whom, as we did see, Jamar Chase had a big game. He had 150 yards receiving and a big 60-plus yard touchdown in that game, which... a lot of it had to do with Joe Burrow being able to get open. For me, this is about Lou Anarumo's Cincinnati Bengals defense coming to life. And I'm just going to be honest with you. This defense did not look impressive early in the season. I know a lot of people are going to say this defense didn't look impressive against Houston. Well, you got guys like Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt, 2 guys that the Bengals drafted 2 years ago. And I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw that, I already knew that Von Bell and Jesse Bates were out the door. You know, and to the pleasure of the GM and possibly the Cincinnati Bengals organization, they've got to be ecstatic about the way these guys have played. Ecstatic. You hope when you take guys like this that they perform to the level at which you're drafting them at. And they have been nothing short of phenomenal. You've got Cam Taylor-Britt's got 4 interceptions on the year. You know, I mean, this is not what you anticipated. You hoped you would get this, but you don't expect it. And Dax Hill's been great as well. He's got 2 interceptions on the year and possibly could have had more if he hangs on to a couple of more balls. But you're looking at a loss that the Bengals had, and, you know, to Trey Hendrickson. You know, they're saying he's day-to-day, but I wouldn't expect him to be here. But to me, the bigger story here is that Lamar Jackson has not looked good. And you've gotten so many people that have been talking about him early, which they always do. And I just did a show about C.J. Stroud and something I want you guys to look at, which he keeps he keeps capping like he's going to be this prolific passer. Here we are. We've been waiting on it since 2018. It's 2023 now. 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. 21-77. When are we going to start seeing that? People are going to say, well, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are not hit. No, I'm not talking about a lot of quarterbacks. There's a lot of quarterbacks that we call garbage. A lot of quarterbacks we call trash. I personally don't call nobody trash, but here's the reality of it. What's up? You say you want to be that 5,000-yard passer. I don't see it, bro. I'm just saying. I mean, to me, you show me as you strike me as a guy that uses your arm to threaten people with your, to give people a reason to say that we shouldn't stay back and wait on you to tackle you in the box. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, if running's your game, that's fine. But even Jalen Hurts has capable arm strength, accuracy. Now people are gonna say, well, he's got Brown, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith. Well, let's look at what you have. You've got a who's who in your receiving core. You got guys like Zay Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews, Odell Beckham Jr., Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay. People are going to say, oh, well, who are these guys? These guys are guys that can get open. And then you went and got the guy, I call him Big Money Todd, because this guy is money when it comes to calling the plays. It don't get no better than him. Stetson Bennett ain't that good. And he was able to make this guy a 300-yard passer. And I love watching Big Money Todd do his thing. With that being said, I think this game hinges on one thing. Is whether or not the Baltimore Ravens defense can cause Joe Burrow issue. Now, I will say this. People are going to say that the Bengals just got through losing to the Texans. Well, arguably, Tyler Boyd had probably one of the most embarrassing moments of his career when he drops a touchdown. He double drops a pass in the end zone. And I don't like to put any kind of shade on Tyler Boyd because he's a very good player now. He's one of my favorite players. But with that being said, I do believe that the Bengals recover here without T. Higgins, because I believe, this is just me, looking at, and I know what people are going to say, both of these teams are coming off losses, but here's the reality of it. The Baltimore Ravens won the first matchup. The Cincinnati Bengals cannot afford a loss. They cannot afford a loss. They cannot afford a second loss in division, especially directly to the Ravens, because that gives the Ravens ultimately a 2-game lead over the Cincinnati Bengals. Well, it does not 2 games, but it ultimately means that the Bengals have to win one more game than the Ravens. They don't control the tiebreaker. They ultimately have to win an extra game. And looking at this Cleveland-Baltimore game, the one thing that I can honestly sit here and say, what's most embarrassing about it is both teams lost on their home field. Cleveland was down 14 early. And see, I am still not sold on Deshaun Watson being back to the old form. So, do I think with Joe Burrow being who he is, I think Joe Burrow is a more dangerous quarterback? Absolutely. And a lot of credit needs to be given to Houston's defense for making Joe Burrow make the mistakes that he made. So, but he still, in a nutshell, looked pretty darn good. This is DeMeco Ryans' defense that we're talking about here. But this is going to be the best Thursday night game of the season. I honestly am glad that they took and decided to put it on Thursday night as opposed to a Monday night game or a Sunday night game. Anytime these two teams get together, it needs to be prime time. That's just the way I feel. As long as Joe Burrow's here, and I'm not even talking about Lamar Jackson, because this game was good even when he was not playing. This is just a rivalry that has been brewing since the Marvin Lewis era. I just think that the Bengals are having the upper hand at this point, and I think they win this game, even it up, realizing that they need to get back in this thing. They go to 6-4 in this game, stay alive, and give themselves some leeway with the Ravens as they will fall to 7-4 and fall one game back as well, and you know, make this race even tighter than it needs to be, because the Bengals have to win this game, or you're looking at a situation where they're going to need help from the other two rivals in their division, and ultimately you don't want to have to rely on your rivals to get a job done that you can do very well do yourself, because it will actually be the Steelers, because this will be the final game until the finale in that division. They will have wrapped up the division. So yeah, it is very imperative that the Bengals win this game, because they cannot afford to go down in this division any more than they already are, because the Ravens already have 2 losses within the division to the Steelers and the Browns. And they need to give Baltimore a third, so that way that they're not living on edge at this point, because they themselves already have 2 losses in the division. They don't need to have a third. They basically need to win out the rest of their divisional schedule. But I think this game goes. I think it goes 20-17. I think it's going to be a low scoring affair, because there is no T. Higgins. I think Jamar Chase does not have a big game. I think Tyler Boyd and possibly. I think it's Trenton Irwin. Go have a good game. Yes, correct. Trenton Irwin. I think he has a good game, as well as possibly Drew Sample. That's something that I was interested to see, that they did not go out for a tight end, but that may be a change. That was what really shocked me when Cincinnati had their chance to draft in the first round. They did not take one Michael Mayer, who made a phenomenal catch last night, if you guys didn't know. So Cincinnati's going to probably slap themselves for not drafting Michael Mayer, but hey, you know, to each his own. That's going to do it for me. I think Cincinnati wins this game Thursday night and breaks even in the division, if you will. Not record-wise, but it keeps them at 2 losses, and the Ravens fall. I don't talk much about the Ravens because I am a Kyle Hamilton fan, but we all know that the Ravens love the blitz, and they don't really have much offense. They rely on Lamar Jackson's leg, and they call a couple of Big Money Todd calls as many off-schedule plays as he can. He likes to keep the defense on its heels. I like him, but I still think the Bengals prevailed 20-17. And it'll be a fun game. Until the next time, you guys. Same Gab channel, same Gab platform.
But behold, there is a warm breeze that comes from the west. The blazing sounds of victory fuel their everlasting quest. It is a call to arms, for they are here. An army that has the will to challenge and the will to dare.